Hello and welcome, Arthur. As we increasingly rely on AI for us, for efficiency, for to help us in our businesses, we're missing that core human touch. Technology has always been seen as a tool to help us become more efficient. Now what we're seeing is that technology is the main driver, not us. What are you seeing? What's your thoughts on where we're heading with AI and technology?
It's interesting. I do a lot of speaker coaching, helping people be doing less corporate speak and being more authentic speakers, which we're naturally authentic speakers, but the corporate world has made things more efficient, more logical. It's a paradox. And what I'm seeing is AI, at least in the communication field, which is the majority of people that are dabbling with AI, it's making the default prompt to be efficiency and logic, which takes away the human interaction. I was checking this morning on email tools because I like playing with a lot of AI different tools. And there's already a handful of tools that will go through your email box, look at all your responses, make responses, and you can just go through your email and saying, do I want to respond with this kind of response as funny, as professional, as I'm a technical expert? And that default thinking is removing any type of humanity from communication. It kind of scares me.
So as technology and AI become the default, where does that leave us as humans? Are we not supposed to be driving the conversation?
Short term, this is going to drive a lot of people to embrace AI for the efficiency factor of it, and specifically communication right now. And I think that's going to be the leader. That's what I'm seeing the easiest way to adopt AI. I do a lot of speaking engagements, and when I ask who's using AI, the people that do raise their hands, which is still not a lot outside the technical field, they're using it for email. That's number one reason people are using AI. And what scares me is that those emails are all pre-written. By the way, I'm running into people that are using AI for the email and they don't even check it. They cut and paste and hit send, not even reading it. That seems to be more common. I'm talking to more and more people, which kind of disturbs me even more. But what this is ultimately doing is removing that bit of humanity, that initial human connection that you have when you are emailing somebody. Back when email first happened, we're in this digital divide where I could email you, you're in Ireland, Scotland, and we start a conversation. We're actually building some sort of connection. And that's all going away because my AI is going to write your AI is going to respond to my AI, and we're not going to have a human connection. And I might meet you someday. I'm like, you're not the same person I was emailing. And you're going to say, well, you're not the same person I was emailing. And that's what's going to happen. That's what's happening now.
Yeah. And we talk, and it's very interesting as you were speaking, we talk about AI and technology as being this separate identity of something that's running itself, when actual fact, it's us. You talk about corporate, that's us, that's the business world we live in. So we're driving AI to interact like that, and yet we're craving for this human interaction. It's a little bit contradictory.
It's funny you say that because the large language models are taking all that data, all that information. You take all that corporate thought, that corporate mindset, the corporate data, and saying, now you're an AI bot. Well, of course it's going to be corporate, stale, boring, inefficient, and logical.
And how do you think that's going to impact us and going forward in our meetings? And say it's a business event, you're emailing, you're building a relationship with a prospective customer or supplier, and they meet face to face, and then you realize that's not the same person that you were emailing. Where does that leave the conversation? Where does that leave the business element of things? How do you then move beyond that?
You can have a lot of awkward, blind dates. We've all been through that. We're like, oh my gosh, that's the person I didn't expect to see you. I think there has to be a mindset shift where right now people are looking at AI as what's the fastest way that I can remove the human element. And if we look at AI from what's the fastest way that we can build human connection, I think that's when we see the shift. Because if you can leverage AI to build the human connection faster, I'm a big believer that all this AI, all this efficiency and logic and reason is going to force us to, again, my email bot's going to email your email bot bot's going to email my email bot. At some point, what I'm going to do is old school. I'm going to pick up a telephone and I'm going to talk to you. Now, AI is going to eventually do the voice synthesis, but we're not going to get there yet. Not yet. But we're going to go back. The good news is it's going to go back to old school relationships. I just want to pick up the phone and talk to you. Or actually, better than the phone, an actual Zoom conversation where I can actually see you and see the tonality changes, see the body posture, learn a little bit about you by your background. That's what humans are craving. And I think as long as we start taking that shift, that's how we view AI as a shortcut to get to the human connection, we'll be okay.
Yeah. What about we're building those relationships, and you're talking to a potential supplier, and everything you see and hear is exactly what you like, and then when you actually get there, it's not what you were expecting, and it's not the product you wanted to buy, it's not the company you wanted to interact with. At what point, how do we balance that to ensure that we're not destroying that human connection, that we always bring humans into the conversation?
It's a great question, because right now, a lot of the sales, any type of sales funnel you go, it's all crap. It's all AI driven. And you can tell. So the good news is right now, most people can tell that if you're in tech, you can tell that it's AI driven. There was a study just recently that the word divulge was, when AI started, it went up like 20 or 80% of usage because AI picked up the word divulge, which people normally don't speak. They get back on track. What I see happening is that to stand out, you need to actually show your humanity, which is kind of ironic. But I'm already seeing a lot of forward-thinking people in the consulting or coaching internet world, where now it used to be, here's my sales funnel, here's my AI program, watch this webinar. Now it's more about watch me live, watch how I work.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way to do it, because that's going to happen. What you just said is already happening now. I went through this whole experience already once with a really humorous outcome. But people are going to want to see, show me, and it's ironic, show me that you're a real human.
Yeah.
Show me that how you think and how you operate.
Yeah, that comical side of AI is funny.
Extremely.
To end the pun, tell me, what is the most clownish thing you have ever seen in AI and how it interacts with human beings?
So I play a lot with AI, and I was looking for some sales funnels for some consulting services.
Yeah.
And I found a group where you have to put in your email address, your cell phone number, which now I don't do as much anymore. And the next day I get a phone call at 10 o'clock in the morning, and it's, I'm looking at multiple businesses, and one guy's a Brit. And I get a phone call, and it's an AI bot. And you can tell it's an AI bot. It's like, hello, Arthur. Tell me about your issues in business and how you want to scale and grow, and let's set up an appointment. I'm like, my first words were, you're a bot. And the thing actually said, I can assure you I'm not a bot. Can we schedule this meeting for you? And it kept wanting to schedule a meeting. I'm like, oh, this is the biggest joke. And I know somebody who created an anti-spam robot telephone system years ago called the Jolly Roger Telephone Company. It's actually comical. You get a spam phone call, you forward it to his number, and he has random robots that just try to waste the spam person's time. Now, he's got into AI, so he has AI-driven voice synthesized bots. So I connected this guy called back the next day, like on 10 o'clock again. I went, hey, Arthur, can you set up a meeting? I forwarded to this other spam AI bot, and I just listened in. Like, it's a clown show. And they started a conversation where the sales bot was trying to set up a schedule, and the other bot was paying attention and listening. It was fascinating. Was saying, well, I'd like to do that, but my daughter's, I'm having stress with my daughter. And the sales bot's like, well, hey, maybe you should sit down and listen to some music together with your daughter. What kind of music does your daughter like? And the spam bots and the anti-spam bot was like, well, she likes new age music, and I don't understand age music. And these bots go back and forth. I cut it off at 30 minutes. They were talking about Trump. They talked about new age music. They talked about Bohemian Rhapsody. They talked about math homework, how to do fractions. And this would have gone on forever. And that inspired me to come up with a paradox, which I think is important in AI, because I think people are looking at it. It's either it's the savior, it's the hero, or it's the doom of us all. It's the dragon. And I think there's an alternative view, and it's called for every new AI hero brings forth a circus of clowns.
Yeah.
And I think we're gonna see a lot. There's a new perspective we need to be aware of, or we're going to see a lot of outcomes, mostly unintended, some intentional, of a giant clown show.
And that you're sort of touching on the ethical side there a little bit. If you consider years ago, we all got letters from our relations, our princes and queens in Africa or Middle East or wherever, asking for money in our bank accounts, just with a piece of paper and a letter that was coming. AI obviously could be used for something similar in terms of scamming people, getting their personal information. It's even more dangerous than some of the challenges we faced in the past. How do you see the ethics playing out with AI?
It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better, because even this early on with artificial intelligence, these voice synthesized bots, they sound real. The anti-spam bot sounds like a real person. It's a funny guy. It's like an old guy, and he has a funny cadence. But if you were to take somebody 10 years ago to listen to this conversation, they'd go, oh, there's real people having a conversation. So the ethics, yeah, I wish I had a good answer, but that's what scares me, because there's gonna be some, that's where the clown show comes into play, because there's gonna be some, I just don't want to be the first company or the first person that's going to be the front page news for something bad that happens, because that Nigerian prince that email you got now talks, acts, and sounds like a real person. At least not even visually now, they're with the technology.
And particularly to the more vulnerable in our society that may believe it's actually your Nigerian cousin prince. Obviously for salespeople, it's particularly dangerous. And not dangerous, but particularly challenging. And I understand and I see the benefits of AI in the early stages of getting prospects, generating leads. But I do see then that there has to be that human interaction. A salesperson has to help the human buy, particularly as we get more into solution selling. Selling products, AI, absolutely, bots can do that to some extent, a greater extent actually. How does AI help a sales leader, an organization, become more focused on a customer and help dig into the problems and solve solutions like we do currently when a salesperson is sitting face to face? They're probing. They're trying to get to the core issues of that organization. Here's the question. Can AI ever get to that point?
A lot of good stuff you just threw out there. Yeah. I think we can. And I'm a big believer that we've been in this transactional sales mindset for the past 10, 20 years, thanks to the internet, where everything's transactional. I see a lot of organizations that got rid of their sales force, so we can just sell transactional. And AI does a great job of taking transactional, making it efficient. What's missing is, I think we're going back to the best way to sell is, hey, let's go spend 4 hours on the golf course, like the old school way to get to know somebody.
Yeah.
But I really think that if you treat AI as how do you get to those human connections faster, you don't need a 4-hour golf game now. You can use AI to cover the basic logistical questions, all the small minutia questions, maybe the disqualifying questions. And now when you go on that golf, for lack of a better analogy, it's a 2-hour golf game.
Yeah.
And that golf game is, you've gotten past the, hey, where'd you go to school? Hey, nice to meet you. How you doing? How's the weather? How's the sports? And you actually start having more meaningful conversations, much closer engagement, and actually start working on the solution selling versus just the get to know you, rapport part of the sales process.
Yeah. I can see that definitely helping. That all sounds really, really helpful and beneficial for businesses. But as an individual trying to work on my own, call a supplier for home or my electricity company or my insurance company, last week I got really frustrated. It took me forever to get through to somebody. I eventually ended up smashing the numbers continually zero. In fact, I call it smashing zero syndrome, to get to speak to a human being, because that's what I want, a human being. I almost broke the phone, smash it, because I wanted to speak to you. I got so frustrated. So yes, it's giving us a lot of help and support and help save time, but ultimately as well, the other flip side is I want to speak to a human being because a bot can't fix my problem. Well, what's your thoughts?
And it's funny because I love that example, because I think every single person watching this has smashing zero syndrome, and I love that term. It's the irony is that most of us are looking at least the technology people are looking at AI like, I want to make it more efficient. I want to make my job easier. I want to do this. Yet you have a support call to make, and what's the first thing you do? 00000. And that's the irony. It's like, well, I want it for everybody. I want it for me, but not for everybody else. I want the human connection, but I will go run my business where it's not a human connection. And that's I think is the challenge with AI, that it's this giant. It's a giant AI paradox that we're going into.
But and then you talk and I talk. We talk about AI as being this, as I said earlier, a separate thing. In fact, we control AI. We decide how it works, to the point that the call centers, those organizations that I was trying to get in touch with, they changed the numbers to talk to a human. It's not zero anymore. It's an 8 or it's a 4 or it's a 3, depending on the organization we're speaking with. So they're making it more difficult to get to a human, obviously to cut costs. And I can understand that, how it can help us more profitably. But also, at some point, customer service is going to suffer. Customers are going to get unhappy, and there's going to be this huge desire to get back to that human interaction. So I guess my question is, where at what point is a tipping point where we say, no, okay, enough is enough?
I think it's now. And you bring up a great point that I think more and more people are going to demand having real people and real salespeople and real humans. It's odd that we have to talk like this, but I don't think a lot of companies are prepared to train and have their staff that can be human, because the average person that goes there smashes zeros when they call support, but then they go online and they're even using the ChatGPT to write responses. They're losing that ability to communicate. Yeah. So people have to actually, we're going through this glut where we have to start reteaching and retraining people how to have conversations. And we can go ad nauseum into this with COVID and the younger generation with anxiety and the lack of communication, which we've all seen is there. But I think at least right now, we're on this downswing where that, like you said at the beginning, the default, I'll let term the default, that the default technology is to be efficient and be logical, be reasonable. It's no emotion, no human connection. And we need to start training. I'm a big believer, we need to start retraining our sales forces, bringing back old school sales where hey, come on, I'm going to take you out to lunch. Let's go play some golf. Let's have a conversation. And we need to start doing that now. Thinking about how, and again, leveraging AI on how do we get there faster with that human connection versus how to replace.
Yeah. Because initially, as I mentioned earlier in the start of the conversation, technology was always seen as an enabler to help. And now we're almost over the tipping point, as you see, where it's becoming, and we're using it as a default, and it's a deterrent for some people to make that call, to pick up the phone. But I'm all for that human interaction, as you know, getting back to the basics. It was my wife, actually, that pointed this out earlier today. There are restaurants that are now, when a guest books, they're giving the customers a free bottle of wine if they leave their telephone at the desk at the front of the restaurant to encourage conversation. Is that, again, I'm just trying to understand, how do we get that on a business perspective? How do we, because businesses are going to continually use AI because it's efficient and it cuts down the cost. I'm just trying to get to, how does it tip over? Where does that decision come from? You know,
I'm a big believer that I don't know the answer to that, but I know the answer is, and you take your retired force, bring them back as a focus group and saying, we've gone the wrong direction. How do we bring back human connection? Talk to the grandmothers, talk to your grandparents, go old school. Because I don't know, I've been giving a lot of thought lately of how do you leverage AI to get to the human connection sooner? And I do know one way to do that is through getting a lot of transactional, small innocuous transactions out of the way. But I have to be careful, because sometimes in the human interaction, those small innocuous transactions actually are building rapport, are building connection. But I think there's a fine line between leveraging AI to, for example, at least for me, just if I wanted to meet you on the phone, just having my AI talk to yours to schedule time, that would be a huge bonus, because I don't want to spend time going back and forth with my dumb calendar, the wrong time zone. If AI can do that to get to the human connection sooner, that's the benefit. And that's how the mindset has to be with AI, not to write another email for you or how to rewrite something, but how to get to you quicker and sooner.
I love that. And in fact, that could be a closing point for today, using AI to get human connection quicker.
Yes, absolutely.
That's our dream.
Well, the fact that you're talking about this, there's hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what you're really saying here, Arthur, is that we should be using AI certainly to make us more efficient, but also we have to ensure that we are our true, authentic selves, that our human connection rises above everything else and we make that connection.
Absolutely.
I think that's a great finish on. So appreciate your time, Arthur. We certainly learned a lot today. I'm sure there's a lot more discussions to come on AI before, and I'm sure it's going to get a lot worse before it gets a lot better. Thank you.